A George Pickens apology is owed. No, not from him, to him. I'm Mike Fisher, your trusted and trusted reporter. Weekend Fishbowl. I watch film. And you can tell I do. Kinda. But you can get the t-shirt in the Uncle Fish store below, as you know. At first glance, it appeared to many that new Dallas Cowboys receiver George Pickens dumped on his responsibilities. He dumped on the kids, the poor children of Pittsburgh, as he long ago agreed to host a youth football camp there this summer. Then came the trade to Dallas, and then came a change. Pickens isn't doing the camp. Uh-oh, oh no, oh, the children. As an initial response, the host company, and you can read more about this at cowboyscountry.com, 75,000 fish heads. Can't be wrong when you read cowboyscountry.com. The company's called True Edge, and they made an announcement. We've been notified that George has walked back on his word, and they added, we're deeply frustrated about the sudden decision. And they literally wrote in their announcement, disappointed in Pickens' disappointing lack of accountability and disregard for families and children. Oh, brother. And now we've got a big oops. Before we get to the big oops, first of all, to the oh, brother. These companies, and I don't mean to, I'm not trying to take you behind the curtain in a negative way. I'm not trying to show you the Wizard of Oz or the Emperor Has No Clothes. But these camps are run by companies. And then in most of them, and then they hire a player to come be the face of the camp. So we call it George Pickens Camp, but it's really True Edge's camp, and they do them all over the country. So you contract with the player, and then he comes and shows up and puts his name on the t-shirt. Logically, if I was going to schedule a Mike Fisher Dallas Cowboys journalism camp for next week, and then for some reason I got hired by a newspaper in Alaska and had to go immediately, I might skip the camp. I might either not do a camp at all, or maybe I'm going to move my camp to Alaska. So there is some logic there to George Pickens in his own mind. And I don't know what he was thinking. I just know what happened. There is some logic to Pickens, who the Cowboys traded for, gave up a third-round pick for a rental that might turn out to be terrific here, for him saying, I'm not in Pittsburgh anymore. I don't do Pittsburgh anymore. I don't like the Steelers anymore, and they don't like me. And I might add, True Edge, you sure all those 9-year-olds want to go to a George Pickens camp now anyway? Don't they want to go to a DK Metcalf camp? I have a 9-year-old grandson. He likes who he likes, but he likes the Cowboys. And he likes CeeDee Lamb because he plays for the Cowboys, and now he's going to like George Pickens too. He didn't know who George Pickens, well, he knows who he likes. He didn't care about George Pickens 6 weeks ago. He wants his jersey now. That's how it works with 9-year-olds. Not to mention sometimes 29 and 59-year-olds. So the company's sadly disappointed what George did to the kids. Now the company is itself walking back things, having released a new statement that is basically an apology, saying that their initial email to the campers that got leaked, that it was inappropriate, the tone, and it mischaracterized what happened. Regrettably, the language that we used in our original message mischaracterized George's intentions and actions. Of course it did. It was never our intention to publicly question George's professionalism, integrity, or commitment. Yes, it was. But they say, we now understand that our tone was wrong. Quote, and this is what I'm talking about regarding, I was there and now I'm here. We recognize that he was navigating a significant career transition during this time and that his team kept open lines of communication with us. In other words, George Pickens' people were telling the camp company, I don't know, he's getting traded. I don't know if we're going to, and it's logical. And the kids will be fine. Some of the kids probably, and their parents probably want their money back, maybe. The company will have to deal with that. I say they should go get DK to go be the guy. They've gone and gotten Pat Freiermuth, the tight end. And the kids love Big Pat. Muth. The fans love Muth. They will like Muth better than they like ex-Steeler receiver. So in fairness to Pickens, his decision to pull up stakes makes perfect sense to me, makes perfect personal sense and maybe business sense too. Now it makes sense to them, and they're kind of apologizing for not understanding it or for pretending they didn't. Listen, I'll say this in closing, and I appreciate your comments, questions, and criticisms here on the Fish Report. Come get us at cowboyscountry.com as well. The Cowboys are taking on a player in Pickens who comes here with behavioral baggage. You can be as much of a homer in Dallas as you want, or as much of a hater in Pittsburgh as you want. Behavioral baggage, that's fair. There's no denying that. And if you're a Cowboy media guy or a Cowboy fan and you're pretending that that's not true, you look ignorant. It's true. But this seems like a case of piling on. Let's wait until George does something wrong before we have our next wave of stories about how George is doing something wrong. This is picking on Pickens. And the apology, a little late coming, the kind of apology is right-minded because George did nothing wrong. Fish, out.